Hey, welcome everyone to the IC PAX East Qualifiers. I'm Nick Savranis here, joined by Megan Zagnep-O.
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent today. We have a great matchup here today. Of course, this is the IC PAX Qualifiers. We're going to see which teams are going to qualify for PAX. 8 teams, only 2 will qualify for an all-expenses-paid trip to the $25,000 prize pool tournament at PAX East. Of course, winning team gets an additional $500 on top of that all-expenses-paid trip. Before we get into exactly the tournament structure and the teams, for those of you guys who aren't as familiar with Infinite Crisis, here's Ming with a breakdown of exactly what the game is all about.
So Infinite Crisis is a 5v5 MOBA set in the DC universe. It's highly competitive, based around just being balanced and fun. There are in-game objectives that let you just basically blow up the world. No matter who you are, Green Lantern, Batman, the Joker, you can pick up cars, you can pick up meteors, throw them, create your own path, and it's just all about being, being the best at what you do, but also helping out your teammates. So for those of you who haven't heard, Infinite Crisis is finally opening its open beta, coming in March 14th. We've got 3 heroes that we're releasing all at once. So Aquaman, he's going to be a really neat blaster that has all these different abilities he can use with his ultimate. We're also coming out with Green Arrow, who's really exciting around this time. He's going to be the final marksman to join. I know you guys have all really wanted this marksman to be entering. And we also have Mecha Superman, who's a mechanical version of Superman that has a really tragic backstory that you should probably do some research on. So at PAX East, we're going to be having this 25K tournament for the pros and also a 5K amateur tournament that anybody, so that means you, can sign up for and have a chance to win. So the qualifiers for the tournament that we're doing right now for PAX East is going to give 2 open spots for people to contend against titans like Dignitas EU and Complexity. So if you want any part of this, you best come to PAX East and we'll see you there.
Well, there you have it, guys. Infinite Crisis 5-on-5 MOBA format, superheroes and super villains galore, an amazing game. But now that you guys know what to expect going forward, let's talk about the 8 teams involved in this qualifier. You have Clever Gaming Blight, Clever Gaming Origin, Vex Gaming, Aware Academy, Field Team 6, Absolute Legends, Clever Gaming Syndicate, and Templars Gaming Reckless.
Yeah, now the teams have actually done a couple of tricky things. KGB, as we have it right here in this tournament, is actually a new roster. The old KGB roster we had in the IC Winter Open is actually now part of Team Complexity.
That's right, of course. Also, Absolute Legends, you may have known them formerly as Non-Stop Gaming in the IC Winter Open Tournament. Absolute Legends picked them up because Absolute Legends wants to dominate both North America and Europe. The European team has been doing amazing lately. Of course, they're hoping a North American team that we're going to see play in this tournament is going to have a equally strong performance as a European division.
Yeah, let's hope that they don't find some real-life equivalent to the Doomsday device and take over the world because, they're already doing way too well at Infinite Crisis.
Taking over Europe and North America, the entire world is next. Absolute Legends, a team to look out for. Of course, Clever Gaming with 3 different teams here. They're going to be looking to put up a very strong performance as well. Why don't we take a look at executive tournament structure and the bracket graphic. Of course, it's an 8-team double elimination tournament. Every match a best of 1, but if you lose that match, you can still drop down and make it through the lower bracket. Up in the grand finals, the team that advances from the winner bracket will play a best of 3, but starting up 1-0 against a team coming in from the lower bracket. Every single match will be draft format with no bans before the draft, with the exception of a global Mecha One-Woman ban.
Yeah, I think her AoE ultimate was just, nobody could handle it. That seemed what it was at that cone. People just got shredded in it. But, it was definitely the agreed upon thing. And other than that, I believe it's going to be draft mode. So, that, as you said, we're going to be able to pick. It's going to be unique teams.
That's right. And that's something that's going to be really cool is to see not just five champions that, both teams are like, we really want to Poison Ivy. The way the draft works is only one team can get Poison Ivy. Whichever team picks it first, other team cannot pick Poison Ivy, but then they can go ahead and say, we really want Cyborg on our team. They'll pick Cyborg, and the other team can't pick Cyborg as well. So standard draft rules, each team takes turns picking champions, and the other team has to pick unique champions. They can't pick a repeat champion that one of the teams has picked already.
Yeah, this is actually going to be taking place on Gotham Divided as well. It's the first time we've actually seen play on Gotham Divided. Gotham Divided is a tri-lane map as opposed to Coast City, which is a 2-lane. The objectives are entirely separate. It's a larger map, and there's a lot more team coordination required. So we're probably going to see some even longer, even more intense matches.
Of course, we do have one matchup today, but there's going to be a schedule for every single match played in this tournament. It starts today with Clever Gaming Blight against Templar Gaming Reckless. But there you can see it over the next week. We're going to see that winners bracket round 1 Over the week after that, it's going to be the winner semifinals and the winner bracket finals. And then the third and final week is going to cover the lower bracket semifinals, the lower bracket final, and of course the grand tournament final, deciding who gets first place and who gets second. That brings us to today's match, which is going to be Clever Gaming Blight against Templar Gaming Reckless. And why don't we take a look at some of the rosters from these teams?
Yeah, it'd be good to peep those. So the team captain, we have Yechi. I feel like I butcher somebody's name every single time, so please forgive me. We have Silk, Pseudo Style, Jokas, Drools, as well as Chow 3287 and Arrow a Bomb. So I don't know. I mean, a couple of these people I've played with pretty often. I know them to be very good players, but as a whole, I think they're actually sort of a newly formed team. So I think they've probably been doing a lot of practice, knowing that they have a lot to live up to with all the Clever Gaming and Absolute Legends and all the people who have pre-established themselves. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about them and seeing how they play.
That's right. They're going to be up against Templar Gaming Reckless, which has Sager, Diver, Dag, Blackcraft, Monster Mash Pixie, Agent X, and Apocalypse Meow.
These are actually really prominent members within the community. Agent X is actually known as Agent X710, and he kind of started the whole Mecha Alfred craze, with created his backstory. Mecha Alfred is a character that people want to exist in Infinite Crisis, and we would absolutely love to see that. And Blackcraft is actually Eon Blackcraft, who's one of our featured streamers. So, yeah, these are peeps that we know really well. I think we're going to see a lot of familiar plays, and they all play really well together.
That's right, a lot of coordination. I know when we run our community stream, we often see a lot of these players very involved in the community. Monster Mash Pixie, of course, has a very prominent stream. Sager is always coming just to stomp on me when I'm streaming. He's like, oh, I see you there, I'm going to go and stomp on you. So he's, their whole team is like you said, they're all really great
I think
players.
most of them stream, actually. Like Pixie was also a featured streamer, so we have double featured streamers in there at least.
We kind of call it the prominent community member. They're all very involved in the community. Of course, one of the great things about Infinite Crisis is it is such a social structure. There's pretty much almost all the pro teams are very involved. But without further ado, let's jump into the first games and see exactly what champions each team is going to pick. All right, guys, here we go. We're in the draft screen, and we can see KGB picking Joker as their first pick. And then we see TGW taking Cyborg. And I believe their other pick is there. It goes Gaslight Batman. In response to that, KGB goes Atana and Batman Prime. TGW goes Green Lantern. And who you think they need someone up front, right? Some tanky character there. So I think they're going to be Atomic. They need a jungler like Atomic Poison Ivy, Batman. Or they can't do Batman because, of course, KGB took Batman.
Right. It's interesting to see that Templars actually went for both marksmen. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out for everybody else. Because, what?
Yeah, both marksmen should be pretty strong here.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we can talk about KGB has their full roster already picked. We have Poison Ivy Prime. She's great in a lane to support someone else to sustain. If with two people in the lane is absolutely insane. Of course, Nightmare Batman over here, he's definitely going to be in the jungle. Whereas Batman Prime is going to, you know, normally you only run one jungler.
Yeah, I think it's top lane.
Yeah, top lane.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be top lane, probably solo, right?
I would imagine he's top lane solo. Pseudo Style's probably going to take to the mid lane. They're both there's so many surveillance cameras on KGB's side.
Surveillance camera madness. Yeah, you know, it almost suggests you have 4 players, everyone but the jungler going surveillance cameras. Meanwhile, on Templar Gaming Reckless's side, 2 marksmen, and Harley Quinn can often be, depending on how you build her, you can build her so she's basically a marksman with just basic attack damage, hit speed, most for damage, or you can build her more as a support, primarily focusing on will, so her BFF ability will buff up your teammates so much.
There seems to be a lot more synergy on Templar Gaming side. They've got 3 ranged, and they're all powerhouses over there. Harley's got the CC, and Atomic Poison Ivy has the Enforcer tankiness, and she also has the mobility in the jungle, whereas I'm somewhat concerned for KGB. They don't really have somebody who can get in there and, you know, take some damage, because Nightmare Batman, if he wants to be effective, usually goes more damagey than he goes, you know, defensively. And ever since Batman has been changed up a little bit, it seems like he's not apt to take as much punishment. Look at Joker on the own team trolling him.
Well, it is Joker and Batman. They should be dealing it a bit. So with that being said, you think, like you said, he's not quite as good at taking punishment now, but I feel like they're going to have to build him pretty tanky because he is going to be their main kind of upfront enforcer champion.
Right, but they do need that carry type sort of massive damage. So at least Nightmare Batman or Batman Prime is going to have to take some sort of damage somewhere along the way.
Well, I mean, of course, they have great power damage with Satana and Joker, so they made us rely on power damage being their main damage output. But of course, if they do that and they build both their main attack damage champions more on the tanky route, more life, then it's a lot easier to counter build items against and focusing on power damage armor.
Yeah, we'll just see 5 Sword of Beowulf on the enemy team regardless. Green Lantern still gets Sword of Beowulf, which would be obviously quite silly, seeing as he scales off of power damage.
So one other thing that's a little bit I find scary for Team KGB here is that Templar Gaming has so many sources of insane damage output here with Gaslight Batman, with Cyborg, and Harley Quinn could potentially be that background damage. Green Lanterns, damage from the back. Who's going to come in and really assassinate all these sources of damage besides Nightmare Batman? But can he take... I mean, if he comes in back and tries to, you know, ambush Cyborg, there's so much other damage output there to take him down before he can take down Cyborg.
That's definitely true, and I think that Poison Ivy versus the pick of Harley Quinn might actually give KGB the advantage that they need, because not only does Poison Ivy have the crowd control, but she also has the sustain, whereas Harley is more of a disengager and more of a kill securer. And Poison Ivy just kind of keeps you alive. Looks like they're actually 4-man going for the Pulse Destroyer in the bottom to grab that EMP early on. That's an interesting play.
Wow, you know, I haven't seen this before, but this actually strikes me as a really strong play, grabbing that early EMP. Of course, if you can stack it or just use that when the lane's weak, you can definitely have a gank early on that's a lot stronger than the other team would anticipate, as they wouldn't expect that really fast EMP drop. That brings me to the point, why don't you tell us a little bit about the different basically the way Gotham Divided plays out, the different drops teams can get, and how Gotham Divided works for people who are less familiar with it.
So the role of the jungler is actually incredibly important in Gotham Divided, because they have these 3 different main buffs that they can go to that will unlock at these beacons in their base. Now the one that we just saw was dropped by the Pulse Destroyer, and it gives you this EMP that will disable the AI of every single drone or turret or anything that has AI. Anything that is not player controlled will be disabled for 4 seconds. So if drones are attacking you and you drop the EMP on them in a wide circle, they will stop. Then they have this healing pad that they can drop nearly half a lane away, or probably more accurately, a third of a lane away, that has 2 charges that restores health and will over time. And then the third one is it comes from the Speed Destroyer, and that will just give you a temporary speed boost. I believe it is also 2 charges. Now the drop pods that these buffs are delivered in actually deal true damage upon landing, but they've got a circle, so they're somewhat simple to juke, but if you catch CC on somebody and drop it on them, it can actually deal a surprising amount of burst damage. And the thing that's also really fun about it is if you destroy another destroyer, let's say in your enemy's jungle, or if you leave the beacons there for some time, you can actually get tier 2, and it basically empowers the skill to be, in the case of like the Pulse Destroyer, it will make the EMP 8 seconds, and in the case of the healing and the speed, it will actually make it into an aura instead of a single use. So it's a lot of information to take in for newer Gotham Divided players, but it's really fun for the jungler. It gives them a lot of options.
Well, we can definitely bring up exactly what those drop pods are doing as we see them being used in a match. Of course, right now, the junglers are collecting those pods to be deployed at a later date when they're really needed to support a lane. Up at the top, we're seeing Poison Ivy and Batman laning together. With Poison Ivy's sustain, they've done a great job of really shutting down the opposing team's Cyborg. In fact, he was so intimidated of fighting that top lane, he's switching over to bottom. We can see BlackCraft, with only 1,000 credits to his name, where almost all the champions on Team KGB are more at 1,300. And Cyborg's a champion who you really want to have a lot of credits early on. So I think that was a great job of KGB shutting down Cyborg in the opening parts of this game.
Yeah, I think that because the established meta at the time had kind of been a solo top, they decided to pull the fast one, and we're like, you know what? We're going to put 2 up there, because they probably had a lot of faith in Pseudo-Style to be able to take over bottom lane. Joker's really, really good for that solo lane.
Uh-oh, Gaspat swings in there. That's Sager trying to take down Poison Ivy. She's going to get away. Now Gaspat has got to be careful. There's Batman Prime there, but Harley Quinn's still in the picture. She gets taken down by Chow, and Sager's forced back. Meanwhile, of course, we do have Jules taking out the EMP drone. So both teams have taken out a single EMP. Remember, TGW got that early one in the bottom, and just now we saw KGB take the top EMP drone down.
Yeah, that was definitely a really good play by Batman. He skirted around and used Poison Ivy's low health and very juicy body to secure that kill on Harley Quinn, and that was actually first blood.
Yeah, things are looking pretty good for KGB, although it's still very even. They are ahead by about 1,000 credits, and I think it's mostly due to how successful they've been in that top lane, shutting down Cyborg early, getting the kill on Harley Quinn, getting the EMP drone as well.
So it looks like initially we were kind of wrong about the way we figured that the lanes would be. With Batman and Poison Ivy, unlikely pair laning together, but we also have Zatanna in the mid lane against Green Lantern, and now Zatanna is much more reliant on hitting her skill shots, whereas Green Lantern kind of has the ease of just all of his spells are going to hit, with the exception of his missile. So I feel like Green Lantern would have a natural advantage in that sort, but as long as Zatanna plays it safe, she does have the sustain to keep up with him.
Well, we can see Agent X has accumulated 1650 credits roughly, whereas Zatanna on the other side, Jokas, is actually ahead in credits. So Jokas has been pretty much winning the lane with better last hits. Meanwhile, we do have Atomic Poison Ivy coming up. She could be, oh, and Poison Ivy has so many stuns. Are they going to go for it? No, KGB reads it. Poison Ivy's in trouble, but TGW does not decide to chase too far.
I think if Diver had been a little bit more aggressive about that, he might have been able to put Poison Ivy in a very bad spot. Maybe not secure the kill if Sager and Pixie didn't pick up on it too much, but they probably could have bullied her right out of that lane. It was good, though. Establishing, his presence there might make the top lane a little bit more reticent about going forward.
Oh, and look at this. Monster Mash Pixie using X-ray vision, taking out 3 different surveillance cameras from Team KGB, and that's going to make, it's going to make Chow and, of course, the Poison Ivy from KGB much more careful about ganks. You can see immediately putting another camera there to keep an eye on the Raider, and also any potential players from Team Templar Gaming heading up, trying to backstab them if they decide to push your lane out a little further on the top.
Now, Templar Gaming is doing pretty well in that top lane, and they have so much aggression. They might actually take Pixie out again. If Batman keeps up this chase, just got a martial arts again, and there we go. Ends up taking him out. Luckily, it seems for Sager that he's going to be able to survive, had to pop his invulnerability for fear of Batman's martial arts. But, I mean, in the bottom lane, it actually looks like KGB is doing fairly well down there, too, despite the fact that Blackcraft's playing Cyborg, who's a really, really tough pusher to deal with.
You know, Jokas as the Joker from Pseudo-Style, excuse me, not Jokas. It's Pseudo-Style playing the Joker. It's throwing you off a little bit. Jokas is playing Zatanna for KGB. He's done a very good job, like I said, of holding off Cyborg, who's often traditionally a very strong laner. The tower has almost no damage on it. It's pretty much dead even. And to take a look at credits on this bottom lane, we have Pseudo-Style around 2,000, even a little bit ahead of Blackcraft, of course. That's because Blackcraft started up top and was really shut down. And a great pair of ultimates there from both Nightmare, Batman, and Pseudo-Style to get that kill. Yeah,
that was a super devastating combo. And even without the baby having a stun anymore, ended up taking him out really quickly. Forced to back Sager's Atomic Poison Ivy. A tank, but not tanky enough. They're so aggressive in this top lane. You really wouldn't expect that pair to excel so well. You know, the sustain is obviously great, but I think a lot of people have actually underestimated Bat Prime ever since he was, brought down a little bit to be more in line with the rest of the champions. And I think we're seeing now that maybe he is a force to be reckoned with.
You know, one of the things about Bat Prime that I've discovered is that he has great gap closures, and he can do a lot of damage very quickly using martial arts. And of course, if you keep attacking, the martial arts cooldown is reduced. You can train it a couple times together. One of the disadvantages of playing him in lane is that every time you close that gap and then retreat again, you're taking a lot of punishment from any ranged champion continually attacking you. But with Poison Ivy there to support him, Poison Ivy can land a stun, Poison Ivy can put a shield on him, and of course, Poison Ivy's passive is great healing. So it covers that, you could say, the weakness of Batman Prime in lane of just taking a lot of abuse against ranged champion harass.
I'm actually kind of interested in seeing what our Harley Quinn is building here. It looks like she's going for straight, almost Enforcer route with the Entropy Aegis and Steel's Breastplate. Obviously, going for that will on both of those items is a really good choice, but despite the fact that she's been going defensively, it seems she's still having a tough time against that top lane, and I think it's probably due a lot to that Poison Ivy. I think having Poison Ivy is a strength that you kind of can't really gloss over, because she just has everything that a support wants.
I was actually really surprised that she wasn't picked very early in the draft. She was one of the later draft picks. I was thinking that with her sustain, team sustain and fights, and also just early laning ability to keep both champions in the lane at max life pretty much the entire time, she'd be a very early pick. But KGB's got to be happy to be able to pick up her, although we still have that problem that KGB might encounter where they're facing Cyborg and Gasbat, and they don't really have... I mean, they have Batman Prime and Nightmare Batman, but if those two champions later in the game can't close in with the marksman from Team Templar Gaming, they're going to be in a rough spot in these team battles later on.
Yeah, you absolutely said it right. The early game is going to be tough for the marksman, but when it comes to the late game, they're going to skill so hard that if they don't really shut them down and try to force them into that position of always being a little less bet, then they're going to have to get their game on. It looks like Sager's actually going in for Jules. Nightmare Batman caught out. Wow, that was a really good wall, but I don't think Sager wants to be here with Joka, as he does have the bunny. He bunnies him, but Agent X actually comes in and tries to save him, drops the plane on them, but unable to save Sager, kind of just backs away, sadly.
I feel that plane might have been more of a, I need to stun them to get back.
Right.
Actually trying to kill them. Green Lantern has not had very good escapes, so if he wasn't able to stun Zatanna and Nightmare Batman, they could have actually maybe killed him right after he took out Diver. So
I think Agent's a good player. I think he was trying to save. I think he was trying to save him, you know? And then he was like, well, I may as well try to save my own life.
Once he realized that there was no saving Diver there, Diver was in a rough spot. As soon as you get bunnied by Zatanna, you're kind of in trouble because you just take so much more damage from basic attacks. You can't do anything of your own for a couple seconds to defend yourself except for run around on the ground. It's just such a powerful ultimate in a small situation where it's just a 2-on-1 or a 1-on-1.
And I mean, regardless, you can just shut down any person in the middle of a team fight as long as you get focused and you turn into a bunny. Like, you're adorable, but you're useless. You're just running around being cute and a prime target.
Oh, Sager misses the bat swing there, so his pursuit is cut short. I think they almost got a kill on Chow, but great support by Poison Ivy keeping him alive. But now she could be in trouble, trying to chain all their skills, but Batman puts a shroud to keep her out of vision. And at the top lane, they escape a potentially rough situation yet again.
Yeah, we see the Diver's actually doing really well with his Thorn Walls there, but unfortunately it's too early in the game to really keep up with them and deal enough damage, and they're slightly more on the Fed side.
Uh-oh, Diver could be in trouble. Nightbat and Zatanna also in his 4 in the top lane. He has the EMP as well. He can drop that on a turret if he wants to. Put it on Gasbat, taking him out. Diver gets bunnied. Is he going to drop the EMP? No, they were able to get the kill without needing it. But they may actually continue to push that top lane, use the EMP to get a turret kill.
The defensive put-in time from Harley Quinn was probably what deterred them from doing that, but they're actually going for the Raider now. EMP on Drools. They've been really good at taking out those objectives because they have so much dominance in the lanes. They've probably had the beacons active at every point in time. I don't think we've seen too much counter-jungling at this point, but really they can kind of stick to their own jungle and keep it safe. They've got both teams perhaps have the Raider, have a camera at the Raider to grant vision, or is it only KGB?
I think those cameras were taken out. Yeah, so it's definitely only KGB that has that camera right now, and they have great vision.
Right.
I really love how Agent X immediately backed off the lane as soon as he realized both Zatanna and Nightmare Batman could be coming down on him. And Green Lantern is a champion that you have to be super, super careful about the map. But look at this. Yechi barely escaping that. A Shroud from Batman Prime going to help her escape. You know, he's going to go in on Sager, but he's at a very low life. But Jules is there to support. Gasbat could be in a world of trouble. Is his escape available? Yes, it is. Barely getting out there in time.
That was a really good response from Diver. He saw that Gaslight Bat when he was being chased, and instead of pursuing the low health Poison Ivy, decided, I'm going to make them know that I'm coming back for them. So Nightmare Batman was like, not worth. But, I mean, it almost looked like TGW was going to convert that into something that was going to be good for them. There's so much good jungle presence on both sides. I think that Jules is just a tiny bit ahead, and he's got the singular assassin-like ultimate, that Feral Embrace that can just lock somebody down and prevent them from doing anything.
And Nightmare Batman ultimate, extremely, extremely powerful when he can come out of nowhere, sneaking out of the jungle. We also see that in this phase of the game, KGB has just been getting more and more credit advantage over time, doing a better job of gathering the drones, of getting ganks off. You can see it. It's 5 kills, 0 deaths so far for KGB, and they had 5,000 credits. And at this point, of course, they're going to have a little more items because of that credit advantage, and that's going to help them try to snowball their advantage even further.
So it's a perfectly placed Thorn Wall, but Green Lantern is really slow, and looks like he wasn't even ranged to throw that Constrict. And Zatanna does have her ultimate up. Bunny has a really low cooldown. With this presence from Nightmare Batman, I'm not sure that Blackcraft's going to be able to escape. Oh, he did, but bullied away from that. Pulse Destroyer, once again, getting the EMP. This has to be the 3rd or 4th, probably even infinitely more. It's tough to keep track of them because they actually have a fairly low respawn rate. But they haven't actually, it seems, utilized them. No turrets have fallen. 15 minutes into the match, it seems like everybody's focused on kind of just killing and dueling and not too much on actually procuring the turrets and advancing the lane.
Looks like Batman Prime heading down. Green Lantern gets bunnied. He's gonna barely escape. Batman Prime that was looping around. Maybe he's gonna try to pick up the kill, but no, Zatanna gets the kill. Dropping, actually, did she get the kill by dropping a health pack on him?
I think Batman dropped the health pack on him.
Oh, yes.
And oh my god, see, nobody expects
Nobody expects the health pack when you're by a turret. Meanwhile, coming in here on Diver and on Sager. Sager tried to do the ultimate, and looks like they're going to be safe back by their tower, of course. Do not want to engage another team on a tower without the EMP drone.
We've seen Diver trying to make plays everywhere, but it seems like Batman and Poison Ivy just seem so elusive that he just can't seem to get somebody in one place. Ooh, yikes.
There goes the EMP. You can see how long it shut down the turret and drones. Able to pick up the kill on Diver, and now this turret is definitely going down. KGB extending their advantage with a nice push here on the bottom lane.
That was definitely a really good play. Well coordinated. Nobody actually ended up dying on that turret, despite the fact that everybody was really hungry to secure that kill on top of Poison Ivy. Another Pulse Destroyer is kind of ripe for the taking, and I think they know at this point they're kind of just apt to take it, but I don't know, Pixie and Sage are hanging around.
Yeah, this is a little bit scary. It's 2-on-2, and both Chow and Yechi are a little bit low, but Chow gets the kill on the EMP drone. Now they're pursuing very quickly. You see Hardy Quinn and Gaspat want nothing of that Batman Poison Ivy combo.
Yeah, I think that Sager, his will was so low that he was really only able to use basic attack, so I think that the general consensus was, may as well let them have it, don't want to initiate a fight that we're both going to die, and just give them more credits for.
Well, now we can see all these drops coming into play here. That EMP was picked up by the Nightmare Batman. They can use it against the Raider. We also have Zatanna with a speed drop. That can be great to both escape a hot situation or run down an opponent who's trying to escape.
What we tend to see is KGB is super good at grouping, and this actually, the old roster of KGB had the same sort of style. They group, and though it may seem that you're not splitting your resources and keeping everybody in one lane, if you group for the proper thing and then you split up immediately, you can return to your lane before any severe damage is dealt.
Oh, nice pudding time by Monster Match Pixie, trying to get back to the turret before Nightmare Batman came in here, and they were able to escape. That was a very sticky situation, and now Chow's rooted by Diver. He's going to turn around and go back in on Sager. Sager's trying to back away, but so much damage output from Team KGB that TGW is forced back, even though they had a lot of great lockdowns from Diver in that engagement.
Yeah, that Secrets of the Forest grants everybody around Atomic Poison Ivy, not Atomic Poison Ivy herself, but grants her allies that stealth. So I think that, you know, being unable to see them in there, they were like, may as well let them go. But I feel like if they had committed, they could have dove onto that turret and taken them out, because they're so fed at this point. And,
you know, there is an EMP available. Is he going to use that right now? He may be thinking they don't need it yet.
I think he's waiting for somebody to initiate. Probably the moment that somebody actually starts taking damage, he's just going to drop it and initiate.
There it goes down. The turret's going to be shut down. They're going to go in on Sager. Sager's trying to kite away, but goes down. Meanwhile, Pseudostyle from the back takes out Hardy Quinn. Misses the Mr. Punchy, but Diver still is probably going to go down. No? Wow, Diver escapes, but they are going to turn around and be able to push your lane and continue that pressure on top lane.
Now, because of how much ahead they are at this point, it looks like they might even be able to secure that top point. Oh, actually, what is this that they're going and doing for it? Oh, they're coming behind a Green Lantern.
H&X, be careful. He does have a camera. He sees what's happening. Is it too late, though? Oh, the ultimate from Drools, and H&X has no chance there. Goes down really quickly in that situation.
You don't like fighting a fed Joker.
No.
It's just the Mr. Punchy burst it makes you cry.
Yeah, it's the damage is crazy. The micro stun there, and of course, Drill's got the ultimate to set up all that follow-up skills. They're going to take this middle turret as well. Now, Cyborg is still just trying to farm as much as he can here in the bottom lane, but it's a little bit tough of being down this many credits. Cyborg is a champion that, yes, he's often a great marksman, but if he doesn't have the items to really just damage and lifesteal down other champions, he's not that great a dueler, because he can't really escape very well if he's behind in levels and items, and so he's got to be really careful in the lane if he's not ahead and he's not in a situation where he can boss around the other team.
Yeah, there's definitely a nature of every single class that you can pick. Every single role has something that it suffers for if it doesn't keep up.
Diver is in trouble. The other team diving right on him and taking him out in just a second. A great put-in time from Monster Match Pixie. H&X coming in back with the plane. Almost takes down Chow, but Poison Ivy heals him right back up again.
And we can see this is KGB sticking it together, and just they pick them off And look, TGW has actually not secured a single kill because KGB has just been so good at controlling their positions, at controlling the map, that I don't know. Things I don't want to like say it's going one way or the other, but things are looking fairly grim.
It's definitely currently going the way of KGB, and it's getting more and more dire for TGW. There still is a possibility for a comeback, but KGB so far has definitely been pushing around the map, I would say.
Well, like we said, they've got double marksman on Templar Gaming. If they can just kind of hold out a little longer, get Cyborg and Gaslight Batman a couple kills, or just some credits and solo lane experience, they might be able to really capitalize on it. I think they need to get to putting some cameras around in their own jungle.
Pseudo-Style. Pseudo-Style's a little exposed here, deep in enemy territory, all on his own. But I don't think the other team realized he was there, or else they surely would have converged on him. And that is true. If TGW can hang around for a long time, their marksman will get stronger and stronger as the game goes on. And think about that from KGB's perspective. What's the best way to try to close out the game before those marksmen get to the later stages?
Just keep doing what they're doing at this point. They're grouping. They're actually split right now, but they have so many cameras set around that they know the positions of every single person on the map. And I think that they have the advantage, even if they're a disadvantage in numbers. It's 2v2 in the bottom lane, except I believe there is somebody taking out that Pulse Destroyer. So they can probably just kind of willy-nilly push on this turret and not suffer anything for it, because every other lane is quite swell.
They also just took both EMP drops, so they'll have an 8-second EMP drop they can do when they do decide to do a hard push on a lane. In the meantime, they're just keeping pressure on the bottom. The middle lane is pushing itself. The top lane is being pushed back by TGW, so that's a situation. The question is for KGB, will they push bottom or mid, or try to counter push a top and get Team TGW away from their turret?
I think that they're just going to continue to push here. Joker has such devastating poke, and combined with Satana, she just lands a single bunny on somebody.
Look at this, Chow pushing down the middle dampener by himself. Monster Master Pixie pushes him away, excuse me there, but I still think his dampener may go down. Chow's just going straight for that one more punch and he takes it down, and now what that means is that KGB will have the super drones pushing along the mid lane.
Yeah, that dampener is something that you really want to keep defended, and Pixie, being a support, would definitely not be able to, pretty much under any circumstance, be able to hold that against a fed Batman. But everybody else is trying to defend elsewhere, so they're kind of in a really bad position, all converging on Blackcraft and Agent. I don't think they're going to survive through this. All Batman has to do is kind of rush into martial arts. That punchy took out Blackcraft, and there you go, coming in for the dive and going to get out alive. Pops in vulnerability just on the safe side. 2 kills, and the turret goes to KGB.
You know, one of the big questions I had coming into this was, we saw how strong KGB was in the IC Winter Open, but that roster has been replaced with this new roster, and the question was, would KGB continue to be such a dominant team with the new roster, grabbing up the former Arrow players? And the answer is so far yes. Look at that, yes. EMP on a dampener, that's going to go down super fast. And man, KGB is just looking very, very strong in this opening match.
Even with 3 people of Templar Gaming trying to defend that dampener, every single person is there on KGB's side, able to take out that unfortunate Gaslight Batman and just continuing to push. Diver goes down. Green Lantern, even though at full health, is going back just to get that little bit of extra health from his base healing pad. I bet you if they stuck around, they have the sustain from Poison Ivy and Zatanna to just kind of push along as they want to.
They're definitely going to try. Meanwhile, TGW going to try to keep these power core turrets up as long as possible. The middle dampener is about 1/4 of the way to being resurrected, but again, when it does come back, it comes back at half-life. Even being forced to use the EMP drop there to keep these drones away from their turrets. Of course, being on the defensive, the EMP drops don't have quite as much utility as they do when you're pushing turrets.
Yeah, definitely not, but I mean, those 2 dampeners being down, those drones are not something that you want just kind of having their way with your base turrets.
And you know what that means with the middle and bottom lane having the super drones for KGB, it means that TGW can't leave those lanes alone because the drones will push down their power core turrets on their own. And so if TGW has to allocate resources to the bottom and the middle lane just to stay alive, that means the top lane will be undermanned, and perhaps KGB can try to push that down as well to have pressure on all 3 lanes.
Yeah, this definitely comes down to the teamwork that we see going on here. And taking out the Raider once again, I believe that's the Raider, correct? It's going down so quickly, I wouldn't imagine it's the Leviathan.
No.
The Raider's the big, thick one. The Leviathan's a little bit more skinny. They actually haven't even procced the Leviathan yet. You think that's probably something that they'll want to go for at some point, or you think they kind of want to go for a Leviathan-less run?
You know, the Leviathan is so hard to take down if the another team kind of ambushes you in the middle of it, it may be risky even being as ahead as they are right now. Although if they know their team is all in the defensive, it's definitely something they could go for. But they may just say, you know what? We have the Raider, we have great vision, we have 2 lanes being pushed. Why don't we just try to go and put some more damage on right now?
But see, Templar actually cannot take them, probably even in a 3v2 for them, because they're so fed that they're almost like twice as powerful. They count for like 8 champions instead of 5. So I don't think that they want to get caught out in the jungle, even if they're positioned really well, because as long as there's a good amount of numbers, they're probably just going to get overturned on them. They end up catching out
Yechi.
Yeah, but, you know, Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy, I mean, look how much damage she took with that shield on her. She must have a very strong shield. Yechi, of course, has built, a lot of different will items, so that makes her Thorn Shield very, very, very strong. And now they're coming in to push over the top. This turret isn't going to go down. Wow, a lot of damage here from KGB on this turret, and that's going to go down quick.
Yeah, every single person except for Pseudo Style kind of hanging around in the back. Batman going in so deep. Wow, I don't think that this might actually be the winning push if they can just pick up a couple more kills. Right here, they could end it.
Okay, here we go. Chow, Yechi pursuing Sager and Agent X's Dampener is still not quite back yet. And look how much damage Batman does. Sager able to escape though, and so that was a nice move from TGW, keeping their champions alive, putting some damage on Batman, but Poison Ivy can heal him up very quickly.
That top dampener probably isn't going to last too much longer either. BlackCraft's still dead for 8 seconds. I think in that amount of time they could get it. It looks like the mid dampener is actually coming back soon. Once that comes back online, I don't anticipate that that's going to have a long life either.
No, is KGB going to try to push it now, or are they just going to camp this area and take down a dampener the instant it comes back? You know, look at this. Diver. What is Diver up to? Something sneaky here, sneaking around the map. Maybe a move of desperation.
Going in counter jungling?
Yeah, maybe he just really says, okay, maybe if my team can defend, I can get some feed going on and try to catch up. But can the team defend? 5 on 4. The first power core turret goes down. Chow dives in a Monster Mass Pixie. She goes down in rabbit form. The other power core turret getting low, but it is dishing out a lot of damage onto the KGB team. Perfect
Mr. Punchy by the Joker, and this turret's going to go down a little bit late on Diver's return, so I don't think that he's going to be able to defend. Atomic Poison Ivy is not the type of person who does a lot of damage, and I think that they're actually just kind of hanging back and letting it happen at this point.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do at that point. The KGB players were just so strong at that point in the game, and that was something they developed throughout the match, just doing a lot of, you know, like you said, they grouped well, they ganked well, they were able to secure a lot of kills, and there was only one death throughout the entire game, and that was Chow when he went a little ham at one point. But I mean, he had a right to be, with the credit advantage they had. It really showed if your team is well coordinated, you get rewarded for it, because that's really what won them the game, is such great team coordination.
I think that you can see that it wasn't really lack of skill on Templar Gaming so much as that team coordination, because when you look at the amount of deaths that they actually have, every single person has 3 or 4 deaths on Templar Gaming. So I think that just has to do with the fact that KGB was really good at communicating who they were focusing, who needed to be taken out, and none was more picked on than the other, really. Everybody had an equal amount of suffering distributed.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say that's partly teamwork too. They all kind of stayed together near the end, and at that point, though, they all kind of stayed together and died together. But there you have it. KGB is our winner today. That means they're going to advance to the winner bracket semifinals. And for Templar Gaming Reckless, yes, they lost this match, but they're not out of it the whole tournament quite yet. They dropped down to the lower bracket, where if they perform well, they can try to make it back up and make it either first or second place finish in this tournament to get that all expenses paid trip to the $25,000 tournament at PAX East. So that's it for today, but don't worry, because tomorrow is another match of the IC PAX East qualifier. It's going to be Field Team 6 against Aware Academy. I'm Nick Aksav-Ranish, and she is Megan Zagnet Bow.
You were letting me introduce myself this time. It's never happened before. So, yeah, I'm Zagnet. I'm that person.
And we'll see you guys again tomorrow for the next match.